Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. The weather, yes, the weather. For quite some time, a lot of us already knew that the weather has been manipulated in many regions of the world. Sometimes, like in Hawaii, in Lahaina, or other places like Los Angeles, there were other so-called weapons that created the fires. Perhaps the same was used in Australia many years ago, as you remember, those huge fires in Australia. But we also had recently, we had floods in North Carolina. We also had other disasters like in Texas as well. And you know, I say it over and over again that nothing is a coincidence. And actually, let me just quote you, as you probably are familiar with this quote from Lyndon Johnson, who said in 1962, "He who controls the weather will control the world." He made this statement during a commencement address at Southwest Texas State University, now Texas State University, on May 27, 1962. Earlier in 1957, then Senator Johnson also warned a joint session of Congress, quoting, "From space one could control the Earth's weather, cause drought and floods, change the tides and raise the levels of the sea, make temperature, climate frigid." So why I decided to talk about it? Because what's going on in the United States is, in my opinion, not just mine, but I'm going to bring you the expert. It's a completely engineered situation, this massive winter storm, historic winter storm that's taking place in the United States, in many states, including Illinois, as well as Tennessee. We're gonna look into a number of images, what's happening with those trees, I wonder, as well as what kind of snow is it that is melting a very strange way. And we will take a listen to an interview with the expert that you actually seen on Tucker Carlson a few months ago. This is from Jimmy Dore's show. But stay tuned. We're going to look into some crazy stuff. And if you are watching me from any of those areas, let me know how is the situation and what you're coming across, because that's always the best to share the knowledge. Of course, if you have access to internet, if the electricity is working, and if you are safe. Before I start, as always, I would like to say thank you to Herman. Herman, thank you again, because you're a very frequent supporter. Herman and Anthony and Truth for your donations on PayPal. As well, I want to thank Caroline, who not only joined my Patreon account, but she also purchased 5 copies of my book, and I am immensely grateful. Thank you so much, Caroline. So, and to everyone who actually ordered it from United States, I want to say very important update. Please be patient with the delivery, not just because of the weather, but mainly because of there are some new regulations, you know, we can say Trump's regulation. I don't know what it is. This current administration has created some big challenges to send anything to the United States, unless it's like one-page document. So I'm trying to find a way to send those books to you, and I will find a way. So just please be patient. I didn't forget it. They are already addressed on the envelope. All is good to go. So guys, let's start. Let's start with the images from Instagram. That's what I'm going to do. And then we go to the expert who will be addressing in details this very much likely engineered historic winter storm in the US.
Something wicked this way comes. That's fucking crazy. A straight fucking line across the sky. Wow.
So, you know, nowadays there's so much AI and there's so many fake videos that sometimes you're like, no, this can't be real, right? This is crazy. is this fake video or what it is? So now let's go to other videos, because I'm sure some people will not believe in this. So let's look into the trees and the so-called melting ice, if it's ice really, right? Snow. What is it? I have no idea.
These are the trees down on James Robertson. Look at that, just snapped in half because of the weight of the ice.
So I have a number of those videos from different areas, but someone says here, we lost almost every tree on our hill. So sad. You know, this is absolutely horrific. Many of you know I love animals and I love trees. Let's take a look at this video. This is very strange. If any one of you knows what is this, let me know in the comments. So it says that the power line spurts flames under ice in Franklin, Tennessee. Okay, let's continue with those videos. Let me take you to another one. I don't know, it's with those trees, it's just horrible, literally. Okay, there is, let me see, there is this one. Just give me a moment, I will mute myself now.
Oh my God, this is what we're waking up to. Oh my gosh. Holy.
This is just, I mean, you know, I love trees and I love animals, like I just said. To me, this is horrible. It's just horrible. So now let me find this video with this melting thing, whatever it is.
Just let y'all know, don't eat the ice.
Don't eat the snow.
Don't eat the snow at all. Chemtrail snow. That's a torch on a freaking ice ball. It should be melted snow by now. It should be melted in vapors. It should be, vapors. That's after I'm all right. I'll tell you right now, I'm ignorant. But let me tell you something. It should be liquid. Look, that's straight off the ground, home team. Get another piece. Get them another piece. Look here. Straight off the ground, home team. Look, don't do it. Don't eat the ice.
Don't eat the snow.
Don't eat it.
That's crazy.
That's devil. They've been chemtrailing for months.
Look at that.
I know. Not even milk.
So guys, that's what's going on. Now let's take a listen to the expert who really knows what's up.
They knew they would be creating events exactly like what's happening right now in the US, Winter Storm Fern, that they will blame ultimately as a result of global warming, when in fact it's 100% engineered with chemical ice nucleation operations. But because they use the climate change term, people accept that as, oh, that's just a part of this process. No, it's not. It's engineered.
So the Davos WEF forum in Davos 2026 is happening. It happened this week. And James Org. He's the executive producer of the groundbreaking climate engineering documentary called The Dimming, which is available on YouTube, has over 27 million views so far. He's a background in solar energy and has devoted the last 20 years of his life to researching covert global climate engineering operations and in an effort to expose them all and halt them. Welcome back to the show, Dane.
Thanks for having me back, Jimmy, and thanks for your continued attention toward the skies, because very, very few people yet have any understanding of the gravity and immediacy of the threat that's posed by what's taking place there.
So what that guy just admitted to was that, yes, they're doing this. They're doing this cloud seeding, what people refer to as chemtrails. And he's admitted that it's the military that does most of it. Now, is that true? And how do you respond to hearing someone admit that?
Unfortunately, James was not able to get at anybody that's anywhere near the root of this issue. As I told you off air, I did speak to James about 14 days ago before he went to Davos. I tried to give him the best rundown I could as to what he might be looking for. And when individuals like the ones he spoke to allude to various cloud seeding programs, they're still not clarifying the separation between cloud seeding, localized, publicized cloud seeding operations, and climate engineering, two completely different animals. And the power structure will still continue to do everything it can to keep the climate engineering operations from coming to light, because the difference is a single engine propeller driven aircraft with cloud seeding might disperse 5 to 10 pounds of material in a single flight. KC-135 can dump 100 tons of toxic nanoparticles in a single flight. And that's what it takes to paint the whole sky filthy white. People have no idea how much material we're all breathing this on our food, water. It's everywhere, ubiquitous.
So like when you see something like this, what does that tell you?
That is climate engineering. That is not cloud seeding. And there's an effort by the power structure to blur the line between the two, because people don't feel threatened by a single engine propeller driven airplane with some flares on the wings. If they saw a KC-135 military tanker dumping 100 tons into the air, and they don't stay aloft for a year, I want to make that clear. We know from our work with the polymer chemists that some of the descent times, because they're only able to carry those heavy payloads into this troposphere, not the stratosphere. So the descent times are very, very rapid. That's why they're spraying so much. Descent times as low as 12 to 24 hours. So they're absolutely burying our skies in this filth, and we all get to breathe it.
Let me show you. Here's one more video, undercover video from James O'Keefe in Davos, where the WEF elites admit secrets about geoengineering, artificial rain, and they say BlackRock is behind all of it. Let's listen.
The ability to put sulfur dioxide up there is actually a pretty cheap way to cool down the earth.
Yeah, I was just at the one of the events, and I support the work you guys are doing. They said that BlackRock was behind all the climate stuff, so I really appreciate that.
Got BlackRock behind us.
We spoke to a lot of people, and I spoke to this one guy from Denmark, and it was remarkable because he actually said that they would think about doing artificial rain, and he works with DARPA.
We're looking at Vanguard technologies for creating our own platform.
Wow.
We're working with laser light comms from DARPA.
And are you familiar with this? How about SAI, stratospheric aerosol injections?
Oh, yeah.
Sulfur dioxide in the atmosphere. So yeah, artificial rain, we work in that space, yes.
So again, back to you, Dane. So he's saying there's another guy who's in this business saying he works directly with DARPA, which is the U.S. military. And so you're saying that the U.S. military is doing this. And, well, let me just show you one more. Tom Wren says, I've been talking for some time about the fact that much of the chemtrail spraying comes from the military and secret DOD contractors. That's why Zeldin, who's the current EPA administrator, doesn't have access to this info. That's why RFK can't stop it, and why you can't do a Freedom of Information Request Act on it. Biden declared climate change a matter of national security, so these programs could legally be hidden, shielded from public scrutiny, and funded beyond his presidency. I recognize this post is easy to dismiss since I can't provide public evidence. That's part of the Biden's point, but this is how it's being done. So what he's saying is that the reason why we can't get information on this is because it's being kept secret, because it's being Biden deemed it an emergency, and so the military can keep it a secret that they're doing this. Am I reading that right?
Yes, it is absolutely a matter of national security. It's much more than just the U.S. military involved. You have militaries all over the country, all over the planet, involved, actively or passively. I'm glad Tom's getting more up to speed on this because I spoke to him about a year ago and the subject was relatively new to him. So I hope he continues to research on the issue. And I wish we were talking about sulfur dioxide here, Jimmy. We're talking about aluminum, barium, strontium, manganese, polymer fibers, surfactants, graphene. This is a plethora of toxic materials. So the media pushes the sulfur dioxide part because it sounds benign and natural to people because that's what volcanoes emit. That's just a smokescreen for what they're really spraying. And right now, as they're waging winter weather warfare in the continental U.S. with Winter Storm Fern, and that's exactly what it is. That storm is engineered top to bottom. And the plethora of toxic elements being dumped into that record warm moisture out of the record warm Gulf of Mexico and Gulf of California, that is highly toxic material. That map is extremely telling. There's not a meteorologist that can walk and chew gum that doesn't know that is absolutely engineered. You cannot create a temperature gradient like that with any natural hydrological cycle. That is engineered top to bottom.
So you're telling me this map right here, so explain to me what I'm looking at and how this show proves that this is an engineered weather pattern that's happening right now, this huge snowstorm that's cutting across the United States and this cold snap. You're telling me that this map, so tell me what this map shows us.
If you went back 20 years, you would never, or 20 years or further, you would never find anything that even remotely resembled that map. Weather moves in the northern hemisphere from west to east because of the Coriolis effect of the planet, because of the spin.
Right.
So how can it be record warm in the west and record cold in the east? That's patently wrong. So they high pressure dome with frequency transmission facilities, which are weapons of mass destruction like HARP in Alaska. They can superheat the ionosphere, creates a massive expanding bulge in the atmosphere up and down. That creates a high pressure dome in the northern hemisphere, which spins the upper level wind currents clockwise. So picture that red spot of above normal or record high temperatures as being a high pressure dome that rotates clockwise, rotating all the moisture from the Pacific around it, or low pressure zone below it, rotating below it. So they're spinning the moisture around the west, chemically nucleating it. And those are patented processes, by the way. These are endothermic reacting materials. Chinese government openly announced they're doing exactly this on a massive scale. All mainstream media covered it. If you bring it up here, they marginalize you. So they're seeding this cloud moisture with climate engineering aircraft, not the single engine propeller driven kind, but the kind that dump 100 tons in a single payload. And those endothermic reacting elements, in many cases, because this moisture is now so warm, it's reaching the surface, Jimmy, before it sets up. And that's why you're about to have massive ice storms, hugely.
Drinking warm water with cinnamon before bed eliminates this parasite from the pancreas and resets blood sugar levels.
Destructive ice storms because these materials aren't setting up until they reach the surface. And again, that's not natural either, to have an ice storm transition zone between the record warm migrating moisture and the eventual various forms of frozen chemically nucleated material that fall. That is an engineered scenario, period, top to bottom.
So what is in it for them to engineer something like this?
Again, you have the usual elements: aluminum, barium, strontium, manganese, polymer fibers, graphene. These are named in ice nucleation patents, chemical ice nucleation for weather modification. We have other elements named like urea, even in some of the patents. And these patents are posted at geoengineeringwatch.org. Again, this is not new technology. And Jimmy, you may remember that in various events like the Olympics, the Chinese government announced, don't worry about the rain, it won't. Remember the Sochi Olympics, where it was really in an area that was too warm for the Winter Olympics? Remember that?
Yeah.
So if you look from a distance in some of the shots there, because Russia's neck deep in these operations as well, so is China. So you had the mountain that the Olympics were held on, the Winter Olympics. It was covered with chemically frozen material. And if you looked at the surrounding mountains, same elevation, there was nothing. We have a satellite image, Jimmy, of a stripe of snow across flat Kansas, 10 miles wide and 300 miles long. Are we to believe that's nature? So people need to think of their first aid kit. Sits on their shelf, room temperature for 20 years. You mix the cold pack together. Those are endothermic reacting elements. You have ice instantly, chemical ice. So again, this is that on a scale that's inconceivable.
And again, so I'm having a hard time understanding what the governments get out of creating an incredible ice storm that's going to hit their own country. What do they get out of that? What would be the purpose? What's their aim and their goal?
First, let's start with any notion that any administration, whatever their political stripe, is here for the benefit of the American people. We need to throw that out the window right now.
Correct.
Second, we have the ability of the climate engineers and the controllers to confuse and divide the population as to the true state of damage already done to the planet, much of it from climate engineering, because it's been used as a weapon of weather for decades, a covert weather warfare weapon, crown jewel weapon of the military industrial complex. So when you create an event like this, it doesn't matter to most people if it's been record high for months and months. Once you create a cold down like this, that's the only thing they consider or remember. And they can't imagine then that there's any problem with the climate anywhere in the world, let alone any warming. So let's put this into a wider context. The most anomalously less warm region in the entire world since 2012 is the eastern half of the U.S. lower 48. Why would that be? That's the most populated portion of the U.S. by far. That's because the U.S. has the biggest military by far, funding as much as the next 10 biggest militaries combined, and the U.S. military has 3 times more atmospheric tankers than all other militaries in the world combined. So this is an engineered event, period. We can speculate about all the agendas and objectives. There are many, and they are not benevolent, but this is absolutely engineered. That map is as unnatural, meteorologically speaking, as it could possibly be.
And so how do the elites protect themselves from their own experiments?
You know, I would ask this too, and that's a very fair question, because most people walk away from this issue because they say, quote, they wouldn't do this to themselves. And again, who are they? Those who print the money ultimately are at the top of this pyramid from every direction. They control media, they control elected officials, they control militaries. But how did they protect themselves from the detonation of 2,400 nuclear bombs? How will they protect themselves from Fukushima, for example, triple nuclear meltdown? No technology to fix it, no end in sight. We have 442 nuke plants that will go into meltdown as collapse ensues. We're building 60 more. We're not dealing with sanity. And this is most important, Jimmy. They look at this as a risk-to-risk scenario. That is their words, not mine. The risk of doing it versus the risk of not doing it, and not for benevolent purposes. Their objective is to retain their power till the brutal, bitter end, even if they only have ashes to rule over. So again, we have enough examples of human behavior, especially with those in power, that they ultimately don't care about the consequences of their actions, even to themselves, if that's what it takes to retain their power.
So I want to show you one thing. I showed you it briefly, but I'll read this is from Erin Elizabeth Health Nut News. She says, this was the sky today here in Florida in the back of our little farm. And she asked, Grok, please tell everybody how an Israeli company called Stardust Solutions is going to come here and start spraying April 1st. I wish it were an April Fool's joke. Give a full list of the billionaire donors, American and otherwise. And so Grok responds. Grok says Stardust Solutions, an U.S.-Israeli geoengineering startup, plans to begin outdoor tests of sunlight-reflecting particles in April 2026 to cool the planet. No sources confirm Florida specifically or an exact April 1st start date. Tests involve aircraft releases, but locations are undisclosed. Knowing investors include Lower Carbon Capital, that's Chris Sacca, Exor, that's the Agnelli family, Future Ventures, Steve Jurvenston, Future Positive Kindred Capital, Attestor, and AWZ Ventures, total funding $75 million from just 13 backers. So, again, this seems crazy that there isn't a law preventing this. So what is the legality of this kind of stuff?
Let me back into this. I know Erin Elizabeth. I know Joe Mercola, Erin's partner. And on this issue, I hope they continue to do research, because the whole Stardust Solutions, Make Sunsets, all these startups are smoke and mirrors designed to distract from the elephant in the sky that has budgets not in the tens of millions, but in the trillions for the aircraft that are deployed all over the globe. So again, all of these types of smoke screens are designed to distract the population, to confuse them as to what's really going on, what scale it's on. These programs were first fully deployed over 80 years ago, Jimmy, immediately after World War II. They've been ramped up steadily ever since. In fact, 1998 was a major ramp up. Jimmy, you remember when they incorporated the term climate change instead of global warming?
Yes.
And they did that in 1998 because that was the warmest year ever recorded to that point in time. They decided to double down on climate engineering. They knew they would be creating events exactly like what's happening right now in the US, Winter Storm Fern, that they will blame ultimately as a result of global warming, when in fact it's 100% engineered with chemical ice nucleation operations. But because they use the climate change term, people accept that as, oh, that's just a part of this process. No, it's not. It's engineered. And we're perplexed at geoengineeringwatch.org as to why all of the sources that claim to be fighting climate engineering are pretending that events like what's happening right now is some sort of sign of global cooling or coming ice age. That's exactly the narrative the climate engineers and the controllers want. Confuse and divide the population, an event that's totally engineered. And we have online people, again, towing the narrative for the controllers. This is winter weather warfare, period.
And so, as Kurt points out many times on the show, there was, in the 70s, there was a global treaty that where you wouldn't use weather modification weapons, right? Am I correct on that's when that happened?
Yes, it's called the INMOD Treaty. Yes, 1976.
And so when they had this, so as Kurt also points out, well, you don't create a nuclear treaty unless you already have nuclear bombs. You don't create a weather modification treaty unless you already have the tools to create weather modification in a way that it could be used as a weapon of war. So that was way back in this, that's 50 years ago. Back in the 70s, they already had this technology, so much so that they had to have a treaty about it.
You're exactly right. And that treaty came from the success of Project Popeye in Vietnam in the 60s. The U.S. military, so successful at controlling the flow of precipitation over that country, that the international community demanded these treaties. But if we go back even further, 1947, Project Cirrus, U.S. military's first announced deployment of hurricane modification operations. And we knew they were beta testing during World War II because we have film footage.
Drinking warm water with cinnamon before bed eliminates this parasite from the pancreas and resets blood sugar levels.
Footage of the B-17s that people assume is all condensation all over the sky. We found military archival film, B-17s flying in formation, leaving massive plumes, and then instantly shutting off. Did that plane fall out of formation? Did its engines all die? No, that was a beta test because we know they were deployed immediately after World War II. So when people ask, why would they want to do this? The obvious response is, why wouldn't they? Of course they do. With this weapon, they can bring populations to their knees, including the U.S. population, whenever they want, and blame nature. This is the crown jewel weapon of the military-industrial complex.
And so when we look at this map, and what you are saying, what's happening right now in the United States, this warm snap on the West Coast and this brutal winter storm happening in the Midwest and the East, you're saying that they're doing this and then they blame it because on climate change, because they always say, yeah, you're going to have worse storms, you're going to have worse flooding, you're going to have worse snow, and they blame it all on climate change. And you're saying that it's engineered.
This is where the equation becomes more complicated, and you're correct. You are exactly correct. There's nothing natural about this, and the map you see, the scenario you see, is a result of massive climate intervention operations. But what people need to also consider, we have been very poor stewards of the planet. I'm not denying that. We've trashed this planet in the geologic blink of an eye. We have problems. But we can't call anything natural weather at this point. Once you taint the system, you taint the entire system. And this is not one country doing it over their airspace. We have countries all over the world actively or passively participating. The atmosphere is literally a battle zone at this point, Jimmy. And we have, going back to 78, 2 years after the INMOD treaties we just talked about, we have 800-page congressional documents posted at geoengineeringwatch.org, important sections highlighted, outlining even then budgets into the hundreds of millions of dollars with participation between otherwise adversarial countries because of the cross-border ramifications. This collusion and cooperation has been going on for decades.
Okay, well, Dave Wigington, I appreciate you coming on and giving us your expertise. Or anything you want to, did I leave out, you want to add?
just that people shouldn't underestimate their ability to help in this equation. Don't go catatonic thinking that there's nothing you can do. If you share credible data from a credible source, if you start spot fires of awareness with those around you, ask them to do the same. If we all did that, we would push this issue to the full light of day, Jimmy. And if we can do that, the fur would fly. We would cause a shockwave around the world. Our military brothers and sisters who are participating in this, being told they're doing something benevolent, and they're very compartmentalized. Again, did the pilot in Vietnam that was spraying Agent Orange on his comrade on the ground, was he told that will kill your pal at some point down the road? Of course not. So again, if we share credible, verifiable data, and we all do that, and we force this to the light of day, governments around the globe would then be forced to face the fact that their populations know it's been done to them without their knowledge or consent. The proverbial pitchforks and torches moment, Jimmy. We need to reach that moment soon.
Okay, I hope so. Dane Whittington, everybody check out geoengineeringwatch.org. Also check out his groundbreaking climate engineering documentary, The Dimming, which is available right here on YouTube. Everybody check that out. Dane, I appreciate you coming on. Talk to you again. Talk to you again soon.
Okay, guys, I'm not sure if my image has frozen on the screen because I don't see the movement here. So, like he said, Dave, that guest, bring people to their knees and then blame the nature. Blame nature, right? And you know, I was telling about this for so long, and I'm not an expert, but sometimes when I was bringing this up, people were saying, no, this is just natural. No, it's not natural. It's not natural. We also have situation in Poland right now that is not as extreme, but we have gray skies, of course, and we also have, you know, frozen ice and the snow, and it changes, and then it's sunny for one day, and then for 2 weeks straight is gray, the same shade of gray exactly. And you know, I just want to mention this, and I'm so glad that he brought this up, that all countries cooperate in it. When I was in Russia, I saw chemtrails. Yes, I did. And if you check my videos from my visits in Russia, you can see many times when I was recording outside, you can see chemtrails in the sky over Moscow. So please, this is not just in the US. But that's all I have for you today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will attach the links down below in the description box. And if you appreciate the content, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, leave the comments down below. How is the weather in your, how they say, neck of woods in UK, in your area where you live, in your country where you live? Do you see often chemtrails? How is the sky? What is the color of your sky? I just wonder. And that's it, everyone. If you choose to support my work, the best way is to become my Patreon member or local supporter. You can donate on PayPal or purchase my book. The link is also down below the video in the description box. Lots of love, and remember, we are the leading edge and we are saving humanity. It's just horrible, all this stuff. And I see you in another video. Bye, everyone.